We're going to be reflecting on 2023. Let's reflect on this podcast first. What is the toughest part creating something like this? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the HeyRx Friends. We Got This podcast where we share our thoughts on the pharmacy profession, experiences as healthcare providers, and explore our identities as two women of color going after it all.
Yes. As we share our stories, we hope you laugh, maybe cry, and feel inspired as you get to know us. Because at the end of the day, friends, we got this. We got this.
We do. Hello. Thank goodness we are filming in the morning. That is where I do my best.
Yeah, me too. It's weird. It's crazy. It's crazy.
What do you mean?
It's like, because most people are not morning people.
Oh.
You know, we're weird for this, right?
No, the thing is, I'm not a morning person, but when I have this thing where if I go all day talking and interacting, it empties my tank.
I get that.
Yes. You get that?
I do get that because I get like my little gas tank is like, I am not as on by 3 p.m. as I was when I woke up in the morning, and it's like, good morning. Hi.
Exactly. Yeah. Your brain is just starting to turn on. And by the end of the day, my brain is,
Same. Oh, I get that. That's so interesting. Because even with exams, I do better with morning exams than afternoon exams.
Interesting. You still take exams? I know
that girl.
you don't, right?
I feel like I will be taking exams forever because I'm a sucker for like wanting to learn and do new stuff. And unfortunately, in this society, that means, exams.
What?
I know.
What are you studying for?
I know. Like, I just got through the DC law exam, licensing in DC and MPJE, and already I'm aspiring to Virginia because I'm like, okay, I know. It's nuts.
Well, I feel like depending on what you do and how you practice as a pharmacist, I feel like they should change it so that if you practice a certain area, then maybe you do need a license for every different state, but maybe there should be one like umbrella, what I mean? So that you're not always having to study all like for so many freaking like MPJEs. Like those tests are difficult. I hate. I don't use the word hate that often, but I really do not like MPJE. Like I hate studying for law.
They are awful. It's language I don't understand.
It's language that confused me so much because I think it's written to confuse people.
It is though. Because you're sitting there, you're reading the question, you can reference the law that this question is about, and you're like, except none of these answers match what I read. And so let's go through and let me say which one of these absolutely does not fit. Like every time I walk out, my friends are like, how'd it go? I'm always texting back, cautiously optimistic.
Oh my gosh.
Cautiously optimistic.
When I was a student taking the MPJE, I took two, one for Arizona and one for Indiana, because I was doing my PGY1 in Indiana.
That's right.
And I took my Arizona one first, I think. And I barely passed. I mean, I think I got like a 77. It was really bad.
Me too. My PSS score was 70. I was like this. I was like,
you're like, that's cracked door. I still made it through. So then when I think I took my Indiana one and I was like, okay, this is going to be my second one. I should do better. Like technically, logically. Yeah. And I didn't. I think I got a 76.
See, but it's like that thing where your performance and licensure in one MPJE absolutely does not translate into the other ones. And I don't know how, girl, I don't know how that, and like, look at us, right? Like we've been licensed for how many years? We don't understand it. Imagine what the new grads and people that are in residency where everything is quite literally on the line, what they must be feeling and going through, because
It's so stressful.
this is just something that I'm pursuing because I'm interested in a research opportunity at a psychiatric institution, which requires me to be a licensed practitioner. But it's not part of my fellowship. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are
Saley,
you doing
no.
this?
I need to hold an intervention. No, no
Yeah,
more.
like we need to talk because, right? But like, I'm always thinking about the resident where you can't take a step forward until this stuff is out of the way. I sympathize. Oh, I understand. We are in it right now. And guys, I feel you. I feel your pain. I'm licensed in 2 other states. DC would be the next one. And I'm just here like, oh man, I don't want to do this. But now I'm like, oh, maybe I should just do Virginia. Maybe I should just get it all done. Because, you know, I have a
Yeah.
short-term memory for punishment. It's like it's
Yeah.
disturbing.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll
but
need to follow your journey through fellowship and kind of figuring out what it is that you want to do at the end of it all.
yeah, I would love to
And
share that. Yeah, I would
yeah,
love for
I'm
us to
excited
talk
to
about
hear.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Um,
excited.
but as we chit chat, I do want to make sure that we introduce ourselves. So, hello everybody. My name is Thu.
One day, guys, those of you that have been with us so far, you know that this is a point where we can always count on Thu to redirect because, that's just how she rolls. Nothing gets by her. Um, we are going to remember to introduce ourselves. Hi, everybody. I'm Saley. I'm Saley. One day we're
um
gonna get it down. It's a goal.
it's a goal, but maybe it's just like one of those things that people expect from us now, to be introducing ourselves like 30 minutes into a
30 minutes in.
conversation. um
Oh man.
but I think today's episode is going to be a really fun one. By the way, happy new year
Happy
everybody.
New Year, everybody.
2024.
It's
What a
unreal. It's
so
unreal.
we're going to be reflecting on 2023, give a
Yeah.
little bit of reflection on that, and then talk about Hey RX Friends, We Got This, the birth of it all, and how we would like to develop and grow this little creature that we've created.
This
So
this
excited to have this
beast.
conversation.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me, ma'am. This beast. Okay?
Well, it's going to
This
grow into a beast.
it's a beast right now. I am
Oh,
manifesting it. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Because when we were talking about it, it was like our tiny little muffin. It was like a tiny little thing. We were just gonna go for it. And now look at us.
It was incubating.
It was incubating. I'm so done with her. She
And
is
then we hatched it.
incubating. I
Uh,
can't. We are so excited. I'm so proud of us for doing
yeah.
it anyway with no
Yes.
clue and like learning as we went, and
Yeah.
the people listening, they're telling us, "Hey, this thing is polishing up." And I'm like, "That's what we're going for."
I love it.
I love
Um,
it. I
but
love
before
it.
we jump into all of that, if you are watching on YouTube, please like the video,
Yeah.
subscribe, and write in the comments the types of things you want us to talk about in the future. And if you're listening to us, please rate and write a review. Let the people know why we are the best companion for walking the dog, driving around. Where are you going? Don't know, but you are listening to us. And yeah, this is how we're going to get more people to know who we are.
Yeah.
Um, so please, please, please do that.
Do that. It helps us so much. And we really, and Thu says this a lot. I don't echo it enough. We want to build a community. We really want to build a community. And I know I talk like I want to build a beast. It's a beast and all this stuff. But in actuality, we wanted to build a community that is going to welcome all voices, amplify all voices. It's about our perspective, but we want to hear your perspectives. And that's why we want to know what you'd like us to talk about. Because trust me, we're ready. We're ready to get into all the smoke. We want to tell you exactly how it is to a fault sometimes.
And no one is going to give you that tea. So that's why you should come back
Nobody,
every day,
nobody,
or at least every
nobody.
other week.
Yeah.
Um,
So share, share, share.
well, That's a good segue to
Yeah.
one of the segments that I want to talk about. So I think let's reflect on 2023, but let's reflect on this podcast first. Let's just
Yeah.
talk about that first because we kind of drove right into that. Um, okay. So
Yeah.
where should we begin?
I don't know.
What was your
It's
favorite part about starting this thing with me? Like in the beginning, what was the part that you had so much fun with? Like, was it creating the logo? Was it coming up with the name? Like, what do you think?
I have to be honest. It was
Oh,
the it was the back and forth text messages deciding on what we would call ourselves. We if I was to go back and look at those text messages and put that out there, people are going to be like, there's no way they contemplated that. It's like, because we were also learning about each other in the process too, right? Because it was kind of like, oh no, we could go this way or we could go that way. Oh, boo, that name is taken. It's like we were going to be a one name podcast, and then that turned into a whole statement podcast.
let's tell the people what it was supposed to be.
It's supposed to be, oh, we were going to be verified. Yes. Woo!
That sounds so dramatic now that I think about it. Verify with that like an RX.
With the RX. And
Yes.
we kept that though. We knew that whatever our name was
Yes.
gonna be, the logo, the name was going to have the RX thing in it.
Yes.
Um, but those text messages, I'd be at my desk and cackling. I'm like, oh my God, I love this girl. She's like, no, I don't know about
Yeah.
that one.
I'm not always the most assertive, or sometimes I just go with the flow and I don't care as much. But for some reason, I was like, no, no, it
No,
just has to sound right.
yes,
And
exactly.
I like the name that we ended up with.
I do
It's
too.
I think
I
that
do
it
too.
really set the foundation of what the vibe is supposed
Yeah,
to be, and
100%.
it fit us so much more because I think when we first started thinking about what we would talk about, I think you were kind of, figure out like juggling several different ideas. I think at one
Yeah.
point you wanted us to be a lot more serious and bringing up a lot of
Yes.
more,
A
I don't
radical podcast. And I was going to call people, we were going to put people on blast here. They were going to know that we were not happy. And Thu was like, like, I was like, oh yeah, there is that void, isn't there? Like, how
well,
many
because
women of color voices do we have out here in this space?
I think that when you were pitching it, and I think you had, well, okay, let me be honest. This
Please
time
be
when you were
honest.
pitching it, I think you had so many ideas. You're like,
Yes.
we could do this section, we can do this, and
Yeah.
we can do this, and we can name it this, and you love the names. You
Yeah.
do love the
Yeah.
names.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was kind of like, okay, so I'm really trying to like be on the same page with you, but I wasn't quite sure what the structure of everything was going to look
Mhm.
like.
Mhm.
But I knew that our interactions together when we were having these
Yeah.
conversations, that I knew that it
Mhm.
wasn't going to be this serious thing that I think you were wanting
No
it to be,
way.
because we just don't have that rapport. I think we just have so much more fun, like chatting and laughing and making each
Me
other
too.
laugh.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, I think the situation here is going to be a lot more lighthearted, but at the
Yeah.
same time, we are calling certain things out and we are
Yeah.
giving our opinions about a
Mhm.
lot of the topics. And
Mhm.
um yeah, I think it really just kind of worked out
It
a
did.
lot better than either one of us had kind of thought in the
I think
beginning.
so. It's morphed, and I think the direction that it is shaping up is probably what we both wanted, but weren't clear about, right? Like, these are we were both clear that we wanted the authenticity to be at the forefront. Like, we weren't gonna show up and be like a version of who we were. We were gonna show up and be ourselves. Like, so, and I think that was like the first part where we both were like, yes, this needs to just be us showing up as exactly who we are. And I think that that's our North Star, through like, no matter what topic we are talking about, like when it's serious, like I've gotten emotional. um when you feel passionately about it, your whole body language has changed. Like I've seen you I've seen your whole energy shift and you get so fired up and I'm like, yeah, oh, Thu's mad. Like she is hot. Like
That's
I am just
funny.
gonna quietly listen. This is not the time to interrupt her. She's upset.
Yeah.
Right. And I've loved that. I've loved that about us
Mhm.
and our transparency and telling people this is not where you're gonna learn how to dose anything, how to review any patient chart, this and that.
So
This
yeah,
here,
let's talk about that.
yeah,
You're so right, because when we started this thing, we had a very vague idea, and it's part of a little bit of like entrepreneurship where sometimes you don't quite know, like you have this idea, you have this vision, but not every detail is clear. And
no.
I'm still walking down this path with you and with everybody that's joining us. And I see little blurry items in the front, but I
Yeah.
don't quite know what it's going to exactly look like yet. And I
So
think that's okay.
real.
But that is the one thing that we wanted, was that authenticity. And I think we wanted to not rely so much on our pharmacy persona. And
Yeah.
I want to talk about ASHP, because
Oh,
that to me was this turning point
yeah.
of us really just honing in on what our message is supposed to be. And I'm so
Yeah.
proud of what we
Yeah.
created
Yeah.
during that time.
We
So
did.
okay, so
You killed it. Okay, first
Saley,
of all, you killed it because you was
no,
on it. I was just like, I
no,
was like, Sue is in her producer bag. Girl, you better work. As these videos were coming out, I was like, oh, she's not playing.
so,
She's
but first of all, Sally's at ASHP Midyear, which is a big meeting for so many people.
huge.
Is it the biggest
I
pharmacy meeting,
believe
or is
it
it the
is
second?
the biggest pharmacy meeting currently globally. And
Wow.
there are more and more representation from around the world. I had an opportunity to meet a pharmacist from Spain, a pharmacist from Uganda, a pharmacist from Kenya. And I just could not believe in my mind how much it cost them to be here, right?
Oh my
Because for those
God.
of you that don't know what it takes to get into the US, like there's a visa application process and you have to prove and show that you will return and that you're not going to illegally immigrate. And I think for ASHP meeting to now become one of those things that's going to allow pharmacists from around the world to come and engage, connect, and interact with pharmacists in the US. This is going to revolutionize pharmacy around the world,
Mhm.
particularly for me and near and close to my heart is healthcare on the continent of Africa. Because as I'm talking to these two pharmacists, I'm so inspired by the programs they're creating in their villages. We're not talking about women that are pharmacists in the city. These are women in the villages. One in her village only has a clinic, and her little clinic is pretty much the hospital of this village because the nearest hospital is over 37 miles away. So she is triaging people to figure out it's time for a doctor. We're going to get you to a hospital. I mean, I told her, pharmacist, I was like, I want you and I to get on a thing and share your story with people. But it's becoming a place where it's not just pharmacists in America, basically, where that was my perception as a student and for a little while. And so now to go there and to see a pharmacist from Nigeria who started a college of pharmacy in Nigeria be recognized and giving an award on the main stage for all of his work for how many years as a pharmacist advancing pharmacy education in Nigeria. For me, as a person who's from the continent, I loved seeing things like that. And this is what we talk about, the whole representation thing. When the guidelines are published, it takes her months because of lack of internet access for her to be able to gain that knowledge and work herself up to see what's available. Could I mail her the guideline? Like I was just thinking about all these different ways that how I can support. And I
I love
think
it. Well,
it was transformative in that sense.
I think that that's so amazing that you got that experience. That's a lot of like it's learning, but beyond just like your typical classroom or lecture learning.
Exactly.
It's taking yourself out of what you know and expanding
Yeah.
your horizon on what is possible. So that's amazing. And this is what the conference is supposed to be. But when you messaged me that, what did you say? I think you said something like, is it weird for me to go up to people and talk to you said is it stalkerish? I think that was your
Stalkerish.
exact word.
Is it a little stalkerish if I just start walking up to people and asking them questions?
But the funny thing is that my response was like, "Oh my gosh, I've been thinking that you should do that this whole time."
And that's the thing because I'm there. I think it wasn't until day 2, maybe. Yeah, it wasn't until Monday when I text you when I'd been thinking about it all week. And what I realized was if you had the courage to actually run this by Thu, y'all could have had a whole strategic plan. There could have been a better orchestrated thing that you could have had. You could have
Oh,
isolated topics. But instead, now
right.
we're doing it on a fly.
But
It's like,
but
oh,
that's fine because that
yeah,
is entrepreneurship anyways. But it's funny because when you started doing that, this is what I want to really emphasize on the difference between us and the void that we are filling. Because after we did all that and I reflected back on it, I was like, this is what we're filling.
yeah,
So you started interviewing people, and it was a lot about just professional questions.
yeah,
What is your position? How did you get there? How did residency help you? How did you get a residency? All of this, and I edited it, and it looked great, and I love those conversations, especially with the students too, and they're just like, I want to be AmCare, and it
yeah,
was just
yeah.
so cute, and you're like
Yeah,
hyping
wasn't
them up.
it? I was like doing a fist bump every time they said M
Yeah,
care.
you were. Um, but I think that as I'm editing in, I'm uploading in, we're getting really, really great views. I
Yeah.
realize, we are Hey RX friends, we got this. We are not only focusing on the professional aspect.
Oh
We are
yeah.
focusing on the people who are
Yes.
in this profession.
It's the experience.
How
It's
do
the
people show
experience.
up?
Yes.
And yes, and it became something more now. And that's why I was like, Saley, please start asking them about their outfits,
Yeah.
asking them what their thoughts are,
Yeah.
but like let us know what they're about. Like how do
Yeah.
they show up? How do they express themselves? I love the
Yeah.
outfits with like the tie that's like,
Yeah.
like from a fraternity,
A
and
fraternity. Yeah.
there are
They
like pins and
the
people just having
pins.
a different outfit, and
Yeah.
that people show up the way that they are, their authentic self,
Yeah.
because of the way that they choose to represent themselves on the
Yeah.
outside. And I
It's so
love
cool.
that.
It's so cool. For some of them, it was like um the one girl, Carolina, excuse me, Carolina is her name. She was such a vibe. Her energy was so cool. She was like, she was very shy at first, right? She's like, I don't know. Maybe I can show you my outfit, but I'm not sure about speaking. And then we get and I'm like, okay, the gray coat, the turtleneck dress, the clothes to and she's relaxing and she's having fun. And she's like, I think I'll do a reflection statement
Girl,
about the opening.
she was like modeling for
She
us.
was modeling for me, right? But it's what I ended up finding. And there were people that were uncomfortable and they were like, I don't know. I think we're gonna pass. And I was telling them, and every time I ask people, I was like, please understand there is zero pressure in you doing this. Completely no pressure. You're welcome to say no. Like I I can walk away right now, just nod and I'll walk away and take that as a no. Um, but I was always so like what you're saying, how people expressed and showed up. The one girl was like, I'm wearing my cross necklace because, I need God with me on this journey. I'm just so scared and so nervous. And I was just like, these outfits say something. It's not just like I'm not gonna go out naked, but they've thought about like they've thought about how they want to be perceived, and but also they're each carrying little things with them to remind them of their identity. Like, I don't care how this PPS interview goes, I don't care how this showcase goes. my identity. There's a part of me here that is like intact. Janae from
100%.
University of Maryland. She's so
She's
funny.
so
She's
cute.
Yeah, she's so cute. She has her outfit and she's like, and of course, the YSL crossbody.
Yes.
And I was like, of course, the
I had to make that prominent and I put that as our thumbnail because I'm like, that girl needs to show up that bag. I mean,
and
yeah,
of course,
we
she's
appreciate all that.
yeah, she saves that for last.
Going kind of back even before mid-year, it's just that's the attitude that we want to have
Yeah,
is moving forward. We
yeah,
want to talk about the people in pharmacy, their authentic self. And
yeah,
I think it's really grown into that. And
yeah.
mid-year was a really great example. And moving forward, I want to continue to do that. That is that void because everybody wants to just show up in this very professional way and then the profession just becomes so cold. I feel like,
It does. It
it
does.
it
It does.
feels, yeah,
We've
so
talked about this.
we want to bring people together.
Yeah, we've talked about that, like that predetermined cookie cutter version
Mhm.
of how we are all supposed to show up in it. Um, and if this is your first episode, please go back. Please go back and listen to our podcast. You and I, we talk about identity a lot and the fact that I personally just think that showing up as who you are and being rejected for who you are is still far better than you manufacturing this version of who you are and then have to perform constantly. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
exhausting. And what we want to do with this podcast and as we attend more meetings, as we continue to go to all more meetings, trust me, we are coming and we are looking for you because now I'm a little bit more comfortable being a stalker. The first time is always the worst.
Yes, next time Sally's gonna bring a microphone. She's
I
gonna be
will.
chasing people down.
I will. Hey, wait a minute. I love your shoes. Can we do a shoe cam, please?
I know.
Yeah, the weirdness
Um,
just goes up a notch from here.
what is your favorite episode so far to film?
Oh my gosh.
There's been a few now.
I'm not gonna lie.
But the
Uh,
reason why I laugh is because Sally says this to me over text one time, just like
yeah,
every time we film something new, that always becomes my
that
favorite.
becomes my favorite. It literally was about to tell you. I was like, I listened to episode 6. Yeah, 6. And I was like, oh, this is dope. I'm gonna listen to it again. um, back to school, the pharmacy back to school episode, easy, probably holds the record. I may have listened to it like
Wow.
4 or 5 times. I can't explain why. Probably because we were so green and we were just talking the whole time. I
Yeah,
do
that's so
you
funny.
know
That's
the
so
answer
funny.
to this? Episode, by the time you guys see this, episode 8 would be out. And you'll know why that was difficult for me to share. But other than people who knew me personally, um, the failure that I talk about in that episode and how defining of a failure it was for me professionally in an arena I've never had a problem before. To talk about that on this platform is big for me because, again, to not be a hypocrite and hold true to the promise that we were going to be authentic, I couldn't talk about the fact that losing weight, I've been failing at that forever. It's like I've been trying to lose weight for as long as I can remember, and I just don't feel like I get the results I want, the traction I want. But it's because I'm inconsistent. Like I know what's going on. I know what the problem is here. I could talk about that as a failure, but it would be inauthentic because that doesn't have that much power over me mentally the way my performance professionally and academically that has. Academic performance, that's my jam. That is my comfort zone. That is the place where I'm happy to step into because I know I can body anything. Put it in front of me, I'll learn how to do it and do it well, right? So to have run into trouble there, nah, that was hard. That had to be the failure I talked about. So it was hard, but I think it may be my favorite because I think I may have had a breakthrough in publicly talking about it instead of just talking
Nice.
about it with like my students to help motivate them when they have their first failure. Like, my life is over. My parents are gonna kill me. You know?
Yeah. Failure as an immigrant child too.
Ah,
It's like a whole new thing. It's a whole thing. So much baggage that's behind that, but we
behind
can
that.
save that for another episode.
Woo, episode 8. Y'all are gonna take more from that than just Stu and I laughing the whole
You
time.
know, I love the fact too that we can rewatch our work and still be excited about it and still
Yeah.
enjoy it. I think
Yeah.
I was listening to Gratitude with Attitude. Yeah. I think episode 6.
Yeah.
Um
It was so
and
good.
yeah, and I was driving to the grocery store and I remember, I got to the grocery store and I remember having to turn off the episode and I'm like, "Oh man, I'm disappointed I have to turn it off. It's getting good."
I,
And I was like, "I can't believe I think that."
and then
And
you
that
have to
is,
remind yourself, like, oh wait, I created that. Oh my.
and you know what's so funny too is the other day I'm working and sometimes you just want some sort of background noise of just like some degree of comfort. Like sometimes I watch a lot of Gilmore Girls I have in the background or whatever.
Oh
But the
yeah.
other day I was like, oh, I'm just gonna put on episode The Nightmare on Pharmacy Street because it's just such a like I know exactly I've listened to that episode millions of times because I edit it too and I make little clips from it. And so, but for
Oh
me to
my
be like, I want to just have that in the background just for comfort, you know?
God. And
It's
listen to how Sally got stuck in a psych
yes, because it's just so funny and it's just your reaction to the story. But yeah, that I want to say that the Halloween one might be my favorite to film just
ward.
because I remember how much we were laughing. We were
We
laughing
were
the
laughing
entire
the
time.
whole time.
Yeah, we were
At
having so much
at
fun.
sometimes not very funny situations because I'm sure like when that was happening to you, like you were petrified. Like I was scared at my experience. And now I just think it's so funny. But in the moment he wasn't. But also the Halloween episode is my favorite one to watch on YouTube because you're in costume. You have your
Yes,
bunny ears,
got
and
my
I
bunny ears.
completely, I completely missed the memo. So
And
I'm gonna make it up. I'm gonna
I'm
make
not
it.
gonna lie, for me, editing the episodes, getting to put like a creepy music in the beginning
I know.
and making it like a Halloween thing. It's I've kind of gone a little bit off the rails with that in terms of for Christmas. For Thanksgiving, I did it a little bit, but then for Christmas, I'm like, ah. So Sally hasn't seen it yet. I may show it to you later.
Oh God.
But I've gone off the rails a little bit, just like making it so over the top, like
Oh,
Christmas, New Year, like all the holidays. I'm gonna do like St. Patrick's Day, Valentine's Day, just a random
I
Tuesday.
know.
I'm just gonna like celebrate each of those moments. But
That's
what was the
funny.
hardest part, do you think? What is
I
the toughest part creating something like this?
Man, I think the toughest part's been balancing. The podcast wasn't the first thing, and there's another podcast that I also am on alone. So balancing that, balancing being a new mom, balancing being in a fellowship as a learner. But I think that would be it. Like learning to build a calendar and making sure that also like my family calendar now has to incorporate recording days because my husband has to know like he's on duty by himself for baby care when I'm recording. I'm not here. I am not here. You guys figure it out. I'm not here. So that learning because forever there were two separate calendars. Like he would have to go into my other calendar to see that, okay, on this day and this day, I'm not available if we want to go to brunch or whatever. But I've had to merge it because he can see now in one view that there's 2 hours blocked this morning, possibly three, because after recording, maybe I'm working on my individual things or I have student clients that I'm speaking with and things like that. That's been the hardest part. But the doing itself is so fun. It's so fun. And people talk about this that there's two parts of it. There's the working on it and then actually the doing it part, and they're different things. The working on it part is hard. But when we get to the doing it, I'm like loving it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about for you?
Well, I mean, we talked about this being kind of a dream for both of us. You've always
Yes.
wanted to have this journalist career, right? In
Yeah.
it, like years ago. And I've always wanted to create a
Yeah.
show. And so really we are getting to live our childhood dreams. But
We really
for
are.
me, I saw this one Instagram reel that really explained my feelings of starting just any new project. Because for me, this is yeah, it's a podcast, and a lot of people, when you think, "Oh, we're starting a podcast," that they're just like, "Oh, yeah, he's gonna be filming and then uploading," and a
Yeah.
lot of people think that that's just that, but we are also promoting the
Yes.
the heck out of this
Heck out
stuff.
of
Like
this.
the majority of the time, that's all we're doing is promoting, and that is
Mhm.
the majority of entrepreneurship and
Yeah,
creating your own business. Is
it
you
is.
can create something, but if no one knows what it is or where it is, then what's the point? There's no point. And so for me, I think there's this graph of like when you start something, you are so excited because you don't know what it takes.
Yeah.
And then when you actually start doing it, you're starting to feel this decline of like, oh my God, this is actually a lot of work, a
Work.
lot more work than I initially thought. And especially in the beginning, we're really growing an audience from scratch. You have
Literally.
people that you're following, there are people that follow me, but for us to tell them to go to this other thing, it takes so much work. And I was just like, oh my gosh, is this ever gonna like grow into anything? Is it ever gonna become anything? And so I definitely went down into this pit of this valley of like, is this gonna be anything? Is it gonna work? Because part of this optimistic, like naive optimism that I had was like, oh, okay, you have followers, I have followers, we're gonna combine them and then we're gonna grow big, and I kind of had this thought that it might be it, but it really wasn't. In the beginning, it really wasn't. And it took a lot of effort from both of us to start to grow it. And slowly we are growing. I'm seeing growth. And it's not this like ginormous trajectory, but it is growing, but we've had to put in a lot of effort. And yeah, and now I think we're kind of like, maybe for me anyways, that emotion is kind of going back up where I'm like, I see how much work this is going to take now, but I am seeing results. And so now I know the kind of path moving forward, because before I really didn't know what to expect, and I was thinking this is going to be this big thing starting out, because there was a lot of people telling us like, oh, we're so excited for this, we're so excited, we can't wait. So I was really thinking that this is going to be so much easier than it is, and it's not. And I think that's probably the hardest part for me, is recognizing, okay, we're growing this from scratch, and we're not really seeking much help outside of just the two of us at this time, because we're really wanting to create this brand and like this strong foundation for who we are first before we
First,
bring in anybody
attach
else. And
ourselves
mm-hmm. So
150%.
yeah.
Oh, all of that. I co-sign that and stamp it, seal it. That it's so true. And building anything, it takes work. And I've always just been like, I just want to quietly operate in the shadows. Like, I'm comfortable with it. It's okay. It's okay. But with a podcast, you can't quietly operate in the shadows. You have to make noise about it. You have to put it at the forefront. And for the two of us, in addition to this podcast, we are both building our individual brands in addition to building and growing this podcast. So this balancing act of, I exist as the founder of Resi Prep next to co-host of Hey RX Friends. How of how do these two things coexist together? And how do I push them side by side? It is in my best interest that these two things live together side by side. I can't compartmentalize. Oh, that has been an art. Figuring
Yeah.
that out, how to sew them together, how to build them together, how to do 3 IG stories on Resi Prep followed by 3 IG
Yeah.
stories for Hey RX Friends, and gentle reminder, go rate our show today. I want to experiment with as many different marketing strategies as
Mm.
possible. And because I know you're paying attention, like you're going to be like, hey, that thing we did, that took off. I'm like, okay, so more of that.
Yeah. But
So
it's so
more of
hard
that.
because we are under we are under what, the prison. I don't know if that's the right word, but the algorithm itself is
Yes,
its own thing.
it's its
And
own thing.
it's one thing to be putting stuff out and having people that follow us see it, but it also is this weird thing of trying to capture more people. I mean, social
Yeah.
media, as much as it's something that's a wonderful tool, it's also a curse of having to play with this ridiculous changing of algorithm all the time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, what would you like to see moving forward
Man,
in Hey RX Friends?
I would like for our voices to really be seen as the powerful voices that we are in this
Mm-hmm.
space. I think like one of the things that Midyear actually exposed, you alluded to this already, is that people do come to conferences for more than just the talks, the opening sessions, the learning and stuff, but they do come to conferences to have fun, to express themselves, to be seen, to be heard. And we want to help people do that. We want to amplify voices. And so for me, moving forward, I'm looking forward to opportunities to have Hey RX friends collaborating, partnering, in helping us become really integrated as part of people's meeting planning. Think about us. Really, really consider us as people that could be part of your big machine to help capture a different type of audience, that the most difficult audience to get to conferences. Right,
What's the most difficult?
yeah, right, like the students are difficult because they struggle to see the value to going to
Mm.
some of these meetings.
Do you think that that's do you think that that's become more and more prevalent of people just being like, do I really want to shell out five,
A hundred
four, not
percent
even five, like I'm talking about $700-800 to go
Yeah,
to these conferences?
just
Yeah.
to register. Yeah,
Yeah.
students are doing the math and really coming to the realization that, I don't know. I think I'm willing to take my chances without dishing out all this money. This
Um,
dream. There's
what is
this is
it?
a dream I have that I think
Saley, look at the camera when you say it.
I can't. I
Look
can't.
at that camera. You
I'm
need to manifest
scared.
this today. No, look at it. Wait,
I'm
well, look at
scared
Bear. Can
to
you see Bear?
say it.
Look, Bear's confused why you're doing that.
We are
Bear's
scared
like,
here.
what's wrong with her?
There's like, what is happening? I have this dream that next year at Midyear, we will record a live episode of Hey RX Friends at Midyear. That this live recording would actually be attended, well attended. That this is going to be a conversation that is going to be real and raw and authentic with prospective candidates about what lies ahead. It is so
I'm
vivid in
obsessed.
my mind.
Why do you think that that's unrealistic? We
I
can
don't know.
we can do this.
I've been very afraid to say it out loud.
No, we should
And
say it out
I know
loud.
that saying it out loud here adds a layer of accountability because now I'm going to have to work on it and develop this idea. I think that it could be really profound. It could be really impactful because we are never going to have as large of a target audience for that conversation as we would at Midyear. But I have been really scared to say that out loud because
Wait,
I'm like,
how long have you thought about this? Was this like right after midyear? Have you've always thought this?
it's been stewing in my head.
For how long?
Like on my flight back, I wrote a reflection, and on one of the things in my journal is a live episode or a live recording
That
of
would
Hey
be
RX Friends, or and I think in my journal, I said, or, I said, or an actual learning session, like a platform presentation with the two of us talking to prospective candidates
Mm,
about what this actually is.
yeah,
I, and now we have to work on a
we have to
proposal.
make it happen. No, I love it. Look, yeah, I love that you're looking at the camera and you're manifesting, and we have to say it because if we don't put it out there, it just isn't gonna work. And so look out for us, 2024 ASHP Midyear. I hope it's gonna be somewhere fun.
It is in New Orleans. Oh,
We have
have
to
to do
go.
it.
I love New Orleans.
It's
It's
like,
official.
it's like we don't know yet how we're doing it, but it's happening,
No,
and we're going
I
to be in
love New
NOLA.
Orleans. That's my
Yeah,
favorite
it-
out of all of them. I think it's Vegas, Anaheim, Orlando, and New Orleans. And New Orleans is my favorite.
me too.
Um,
It was my first mid-year as a student, and it's been my favorite one since.
yeah, yeah, I'm gonna
But
have so much fun.
what is your vision and your dream?
So
I think
my
I know I have a vision and dream for you, but I want
for
you to go
me,
ahead. Yeah, I see
okay.
something for you, but I want you to go ahead and lay it
Okay.
out
Well,
for
for Hey RX Friends, when we first started this, I said I'd love to be sponsored by somebody.
yes.
And in a way, like it's not even just about the money, it's about getting that credibility from a company that says
Yes.
your voice matters.
Yes.
And that is something that I would love to be able to continue to work on. But the other day I was thinking, this is my big dream, is that I would love to be able to use Hey RX Friends as a community to champion um different I want to say the word like I want to champion some sort of cause for the
Yes.
profession
Yeah.
or for the students, for the people, or for the patients, like whatever it is. I want us to
Yeah.
find a like a cause that we can really champion
Yeah.
and raise awareness and raise money for it, and then be
Yeah.
able to donate that money
Yeah.
to whatever thing that we feel is really important for the profession, for our patients, whatever. And I
Yeah.
think that Hey RX Friends is becoming this community of people that care. Like
Yes.
people care when they
Yeah.
listen to what we have to say.
100%.
And so, just a group of really compassionate people. And I think that this is a perfect audience
Hmm.
to do something like that, whether it be that we send money to Nigeria for that clinic, or
Yeah.
whether we create some sort of fund for pharmacy students who need the extra money, or whatever it is, or
Yes.
like the scholarship or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine, Hey RX Friends, we got the scholarship?
Scholarship. No, but that's not like, I know you're laughing out loud, but that's a very that's a huge void that I think exists right now. Because if you ask all the prospective candidates out there, like what their number one hurdle in the process is, they're not going to tell you getting letters of recommendation, finding the right program. They're going to tell you that
Money.
it's financial.
Wow.
It's financial.
Yeah.
They have to pay for every single step of this process. Forecast requires money. The match requires money. If they have a final on-site, they have to travel to these places.
Yeah.
Money continues to be an important component. And this is why we have to have our live episode, because social economics, it lives in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
It lives in this
Mm-hmm.
thing, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm with this. So you see,
Yeah. Yeah. I
our
mean,
year is already building out.
yeah, these are some of the goals that I would love for Hey RX Friends to have. Is it's not just a podcast where we just
Yeah.
talk about whatever. I want it to be something bigger.
Yeah.
And that's the magic of it, is that we can make this be whatever it is that we want.
A
And
hundred
that is
percent.
the
We've
magic of
proven
it.
that.
Yeah. And
We've kind of proven
we're
that.
changing the narrative and we're changing the culture.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's what we are aiming to do. We are not here to teach you about pharmacokinetics, the new
No, ma'am.
vancomycin
No, ma'am.
AUC dosing.
No, ma'am.
We're here to change how you see pharmacy and how
Yeah.
you see healthcare. Um, and how to stand up and empower
Yes.
yourself. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that's why I think we're both so passionate and so committed to this.
I know.
It's becoming
100%.
more than just us talking.
Yeah, it's becoming more than just a thing that we like, right? And
Mhm.
I want to ask you a question.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, before I move on to my question,
Okay.
here's what I envision for you.
Like
Here's
for me
what I,
personally
for
or
you,
like
for
individually?
Empowered Farm D.
Oh, okay.
Let me
What do you
put it that
envision?
way.
Okay, let me know.
So, Thu is really, really modest, right? She doesn't, I don't know, she doesn't talk her own ish much. But I watch her. I appreciate her posture and her place and her voice and what she's doing out here right now because I follow her and I see what she's doing. Thu did a live a little while ago about microaggressions. Not even a while. It was like a week ago, right? I'm watching this thing happening in front of me and I'm so moved by it, but I'm also learning, right? Like micro insults. I'm like, what is that? Where has that lived? I didn't know that that's what they were called. I'm also learning. And I'm like, does she understand that she can literally like this is her thing? She can teach us this. She can help us cope here. She can help us figure out when this is happening to us and how we this is how she empowers us. This is how she helps us pull ourselves up by being more aware, keenly aware, and making the choices for ourselves. Because the thing that you did during that live that I thought was so profound and powerful, you weren't in that live telling us you need to go to HR and write your 5-page complaint and you need to do this and you need to do that. But it was really that how you deal with this depends on who you are and how deeply affected you are by it. And I don't think that that needed to just be like a live one time that we saw and end it. That's what I want to say to you.
I'm so shocked that you said this because that was such a key component of me approaching that topic. I knew that topic was going to be difficult but I wanted it to be something that's empowering people. And I'm so
Yeah,
happy that like
it worked.
you got that message because
It worked.
doing that live by yourself and it's hard when there's no audience members and you can't
Correct.
see what they're
Yeah.
reacting to. And so
Yeah.
I'm just literally like talking and I have no idea like
Yeah.
how people are taking it. And
No.
I'm I'm beyond just I'm elated that
Yeah,
that message came through because
it did.
when I talk about microaggressions, it's not about like how you can call somebody out and how you can do
Yeah.
whatever. It's how you internalize it and then let go of that
Yeah.
message that you think that you're hearing. And
Yeah.
that's something that I've really had to work on. And I'm getting goosebumps that you feel that.
I felt
I
it and
that's
I thought the approach was dead on, walking us through a step by step examples, asking us to drop our examples of how we've experienced this in the and I was going off in your comment
yes.
section. I was going off in your comment
I
section.
love it.
But if you come to our live episode at Midyear in New Orleans, that's some of what you're going to get. Who is going to you see how I did that? See how I did that? See how I
No,
did that?
but it's that you're very you hit the nail on that because we are when we're even talking about failure and I think when we're talking about like how do you decide what is the right career for you, we are both approaching that topic in such a different way. We're not giving you like the 10 things that you need to look for and
Exactly.
whatever. We're telling you to like hone in on who you are and
Mm,
like go with what you're passionate about.
yes.
Follow your heart. I know it's so
Yeah.
freaking cheesy, but
But
that's what we are wanting you to find is what you want, what you are passionate about and who you are. And like,
yeah. Yeah. If you didn't see the live, I believe the podcast Empowered Farm D is discoverable on Spotify. Like I said,
yeah,
who doesn't plug
we
her
need to
stuff?
promote it more.
You need
I
to
try.
you need to go listen to it. And I think that it's going to help get your mind thinking
Mhm.
about what it actually is. we use it loosely, but do we really know what it is? And I know this wasn't about microaggression. It's just that as she's talking about what she wants this podcast to do next year, I want her to also get centered on and understand that for those of us who love Empowered Farm D and have been following Empowered Farm D, I think that this is a space that you can help us. You can really, really help us navigate, become more confident, be less shocked and floored when it happens to us, because we'll know, oh, I know what this is.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And move forward in healthy and safety.
Yeah.
But that was the thing. And then my
This is the
direct
biggest,
question.
I
Yeah.
feel like this episode's never going to end. This is
It's
the
okay.
biggest lesson of all is when I was thinking about doing that microaggression episode, I was really debating whether I should even put it out. And
Oh,
and so this is a lesson for you guys that you're
yes.
listening, is when you have this idea and you have this thought and you're like, I don't know if this is gonna be the right thing. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
gonna work. I don't know what it is, but if you feel strongly about the topic, but you're just scared of how people are going to react or take it, just do it anyways.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to bring you a sense of like accomplishment. Yeah.
It does. And it's
Because it's you
fulfilling.
stepping out of your,
You're afraid for a reason. Can I share a quote with you I learned this
yes.
week? And I have to give credit to the person who shared it with me. The incomparable Sue Paul shared this with me this
Oh,
week. I had a chance to connect with her this week. And she said, action is the antidote to fear. And I don't know if it's
1,000%.
original, right? I don't know if it's original or not, but she's the first person that I've heard say that to me. And I wrote it down and put it on a little post-it and put it on top of my mirror because it captures the essence of pretty much every aspect of my life. I am scared to death before I do anything, and then I do it. And
Yeah.
somehow there's a bunch of other emotions that follow, but the fear is gone.
Discomfort is you're supposed to feel discomfort. I think people run away from that because they think that that's a sign that you're not supposed to do the thing.
Yeah.
But it's actually the sign that you should do the thing.
Do the thing. And my question finally,
Okay.
do you believe in New Year's resolutions?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, I'm excited to see what you think. I kind of, teeter between one or the other. It's nice to have a list of goals.
Yeah.
But ooh, that's a hard one. This is like a job interview where I'm like, could you come back to can you ask the next
Where's
question?
my
Let me think about
clipboard
this.
when I need it? Taking notes.
Um, New Year's resolution I think for me, and I think a lot of people can relate, a lot of times it just doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think New Year's resolution is a good idea, but I think it's naive to think that you know exactly how the year's going to roll out.
Oh my God. We are too
And
much alike. This is freaking me out. Okay, that's freaky. That's a
oh
little,
no,
it's crossing borderline really weird at this point, too. I'm
but
scared
maybe,
now.
but that's why, but that particular, example is why when we talk to people about our experiences, we don't tell them like, you need to do this today and you need to
Yeah.
do that, because oh my gosh, like this year, if I tell you the stuff that I learned this year, I would have never
Yeah.
predicted that.
Mhm.
And that's because the lessons that we have to learn, sometimes we're running away from it, sometimes we hide it from ourselves, and sometimes it comes up in the most unexpected way. And I think the only way to have just like a year that you can reflect on and be proud of yourself is to be able to handle those things when they come up, and you have no idea when that's going to happen.
Yeah. It's
And
just,
I've had to learn some really hard stuff this year, but looking back, I'm like, I'm grateful that I got to learn them today, or this year. But you never know. I think it's a great idea to have ideas of what you want to achieve, but
yeah.
the biggest thing for me is always just self-betterment, just
Yes.
self-improvement and learning big lessons and picking myself back up every time. And I think
Yes.
those are just how I live my life. And I don't think any New Year's resolution can ever change any of that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm just like,
Are we sisters from another
we
mother?
really, really, it's a little freaky at this point. I've always said, and I know like my friends always laugh. My Facebook post is no resolutions here, just the same loudmouth, foul talking, abrasive. I use all these different adjectives that people have labeled me as. Same old person. That's the same old person you're
People
going to get.
label you as loudmouth
Ah,
and abrasive? Why?
abrasive, standoffish, unapproachable, all these different
That's
things.
so interesting.
That's so interesting.
We can dive into that another time.
Another time, right?
Yeah.
Labels. That's going to be what it's called.
Yeah.
Right? But
What's in a name?
what's in a name? Two, we are overdue. We're overdue.
But
And
tell me your thoughts on New Year's resolution.
for me, I always just say I don't believe in resolutions because I am a person that's committed to continuous growth. Like my commitment is every single day finding something that's going to make me better for the next day, a better daughter, a better sister, a better wife, a better mom. And when that's your goal, there's no end point. There's no end point. Like you're constantly paying attention to see how you can become better. There is no end point. So for me, I understand theoretically how resolutions can be powerful. It gives you this opportunity to stop, pause, press the reset button, and all these different things because you're going to enter this new year. And with that new year, you're hoping that everything else about who you are and how you've done things will also be renewed theoretically. But in a realistic way, transformation doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen when the clock strikes midnight. It's not a Cinderella thing. Transformation is a long process. So it's why I've never set resolution, but I have been very intentional about setting a strategic plan, yearly strategic plan for myself. I did it at work. It wasn't because a manager asked me or anything, but I take a look at my practice site. I take a look at my clinic and I'm like, okay, for quarter one, I want to get this thing removed from formulary or added to formulary. For quarter two, I want to start this project with case management to pilot this. For quarter three, I want to write this thing up and get that project that I did in quarter three published. For quarter four, I'm just tying up loose ends. We're not starting nothing new. There's quarter four is not new thing season. Quarter four is just putting the finishing touches on the first three quarters. And that's what's worked for me. That's how I get to the end of the year. And I feel like, look at all this stuff I have to show for what I have done. 2023, reflecting, it's just been an unbelievable year personally. I became a mom. It's wild because, like, I have this new guy now that just rules my life. And it's like, sir, I don't know you. Who are you? Like you just got here. You don't get to be the boss of nothing over here, my friend.
You
Like,
just got here.
yeah, it's like you just got here. You don't get to be the boss of anything here. But really, he is the boss of everything. I think about him and all of the choices and decisions I make. Um, I started a podcast with an unbelievable human that I just think needs to talk her ish more because she is phenomenal. I'm happy to do it for you. And my program has grown exponentially. I can't wait to see what match day is going to be like. I am grateful for 2023 and what it did for me. And for 2024, it's just made me just more ferociously ambitious. The things I have in mind and the things I want to go for. Now it's just remembering that I need to take action so fear doesn't win.
Yeah. I think that the biggest lesson that I got in 2023, and this is something that I've never really said before, and I'm starting to think this, not, I don't say this to people necessarily, but I think it in my head is that's none of your business.
Yes, ma'am.
I've never really thought that before because, I think in the past I've always kind of lived off of people's validations and permissions
Yeah.
and needing people to validate me of like, oh, I want to do this. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
This year, I really, in my personal life, professional life, everywhere, I really had to learn to say, it is none of your business and I'm going to do this anyway. but it was such a big lesson for me this year.
It's a
And
place you get to.
it is a place you get to, but I was just getting tired of people not knowing my life but giving opinions anyways.
Hmm.
And not being open-minded to know that like what you think is going on is beyond, like, you know what I mean? And I had to really finally this year had to be like, no, this is my reality. I know myself and I trust in
Yes.
myself. And I appreciate people's feedback and I appreciate people's comments, but they don't know what's actually happening. And I know what's going on. So I have to
Yes.
trust in that reality and not letting anybody else's perception change
Yes.
that. And that was a big lesson that I had to learn continuously. I don't know if you've ever heard this quote, but it's like sometimes life whispers at you and it talks to
Mm.
you and then it's screaming at you until you actually learn
Really?
the lesson.
Yeah.
I think that I'm finally learned that lesson, whether I wanted to learn it or not, it's
Yeah.
here. But the other thing that I've learned so much, and I'm sure like I think this is something that Jarika told me,
Yeah.
and we can have another episode about our career coach and how
Yeah.
we really had to go through that process. But
Yeah.
she always tells me how you show up anywhere is how you show up everywhere. And no one's ever really
Yes.
said that to me before, but I really see that in myself and others.
Yeah.
And this year, yeah, just like you, that fearlessness,
Yeah.
I'm wanting to live my life more bravely moving
Yeah.
forward. And brave means to trust yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Fully.
that's the biggest lesson. So,
Oh,
I know.
oh, this is, and our wish for you is just that.
For me
Trust
or for
yourself.
everybody? Oh,
Yeah, our wish for
oh, you
you,
and I's wish for
you and I's
everybody.
wish for them
Yeah, trust yourself.
is that thing that Thu's talking about, and trusting yourself. It's a superpower and it's a place you get
Yeah.
to. And I acknowledge that. But when you're finally there, and you're not going to get there by accident, there's a lot of intentionality. You have
Hmm.
to say and aspire that you want to get there, but trust yourself,
Yeah.
really trust yourself. And
It's funny, you don't actually realize that you're not trusting yourself until you realize it. Like until things happen and
until
you're like,
it's
"Oh my
screaming at
God."
you.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but yes, so our demographics mainly it's a mainly female audience, and I think that majority of us were not taught to trust ourselves
No,
throughout our lives. So
no,
hone in that superpower now because once you do, it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be amazing. You don't even know what you're going to be unlocking
I know.
until you do. So
Oh,
yeah, that's our New Year's resolution.
that
Resolution for
is
you guys
for you
is to really
guys,
hone in on who you are as a
who you are.
person.
Lean into
Gosh, I
it,
love
lean
it.
into it.
I love it. Do you have anything else to add? Because this, it's funny. I've got this little thing that's flying in my face, but last time you had a fly. This time I'm like,
You remember? I'm talking to you and I'm like, if you don't leave this, so annoyed. Ugh,
so yeah, I think that's our New Year's episode,
I
everybody.
love it. It
Happy New
wraps up
Year's.
beautifully.
Yeah, Happy New Year's. I hope that you guys are gonna enter the 2024
Ah,
guns blazing.
guns blazing. Let's go. Just
Let's
set it
do it.
off.
There's just
In true Sally fashion.
there's no other way to enter the New Year's.
No,
You're gonna have a lot of fun this year. So
we are.
well, okay. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If this episode speaks to you, and you think that others may benefit, please send them this episode and for others to hear our stories and to learn from us. And this is how we're gonna reach more people. But it is available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast.
Yeah. Thu and I are all across your various mediums. LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. Please connect with us. The link on how you connect with us individually or through the show is going to be linked below the episode description. And until next time, please don't forget, we got this.
We got this, guys.
This.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.